Chapter 2, Cromer, September 2019. It is an ancient town that stands upon a lofty cliff of mouldering sands. The sea against the cliff doth daily beat, and every tide into the land doth eat. John Taylor, 1622. It's only late September, and already I begin to feel the need to break away from my sedentary life in Cambridge. Like Walter de la Mare, I'm tired, tired of books. And I long to hear the hoarse sea water drive, their billows gainst the shore. Thankfully, a sudden burst of glorious, warm autumnal weather arrives. I consult the train schedules to Cromer, a destination on the East Anglia coast that offers not only the reassurance of some remote familiarity, but also, if I am to believe an 1889 guide, the restoration of true balance to my overtaxed brain. I hurriedly reserve an inexpensive room at a grand Edwardian hotel, high on the cliffs overlooking the sea, and only an 8-minute walk from the fashionable Cromer Pier. After working all day Friday in the university library, off I go to the Cambridge station with a rucksack holding bare essentials and a plastic bag containing my hiking boots. I catch the 5:30 p.m. train to Norwich, and then a local connection to Cromer. As always, there's the anxiety of finding the correct platform and rushing to change trains. A guard reassures me that I have stepped into the right compartment. I have 5 minutes to spare. The service from Norwich to Cromer is slow, dated, and appropriately named the Bittern Line, for it is as modest as its namesake that hides among the reeds in the wetlands through which we will pass. When I board, I join a handful of scattered passengers looking worn from the day they are leaving. All seem to be locals. We stop at unpronounceable places such as Wyndham, go through ordinary localities like Sol House, Hoverton and Wroxham. Who lives here and why? And even pass by a neglected station that is by request only. I wonder what privileged person once alighted here. As we sluggishly advance through the Norfolk Broads, I peer through the windows at the darkening landscape and canals, glistening in the sinking sun. Across the aisle from me, a local woman and her young child cease their chatter to look out at the crimson and purple streaks leisurely drifting across the lingering blue in the evening sky. Together, we watch the sinking sun illumine the passing silhouette of trees. The Cromer station is almost at the end of the line. In the lengthening shadows of night, the platform signs become less legible, so I keep a sharp eye out for the stop. It has grown late. People rush off. Nothing is vaguely recognizable. No odor, no sound, no crack in the pavement transports me to the landscape of my 1952 holiday. For a brief moment, I feel utterly alone. To make matters worse, there's no taxi in sight. What to do? I run after a passenger who recommends that I walk to a nearby supermarket where there's a phone link to a taxi service. Relief. Even at 8 p.m., the shop is open and the car company answers. The assumption that everyone has an iPhone has not yet prompted the supermarket to remove this convenience. In the obscurity of night, the Cliftonville Hotel resembles some Gothic ruin overlooking the edge of the 70-foot cliffs that separate the land from the sea. Reflecting ghostly streetlights, Its pale facade and decorative turrets eerily peer into the sprawling darkness. Built in 1894 as a boarding house and 3 years later upgraded into a fashionable hotel, Cliftonville once accommodated Edwardian holidaymakers who, attempting to escape the sickly air of industrial cities and the madding crowds and cares of London, flocked to Cromer, reputed to be not only among the best of all the sea-bathing places, but also one of the healthiest spots in the United Kingdom. Indeed, a 19th century issue of the Lancet professed that nothing was better for the invalid than vacationing in Cromer. There, purifying winds with their wild, tempestuous gusts would chase away contagion. Furthermore, Cromer's invigorating, highly oxygenized air might benefit the digestive organs. A train line, first built in 1877 and 10 years later extended to Cromer Beach, made the pursuit of contentment and health for these people much simpler, faster, cheaper, and certainly more comfortable. As a rural rector in the late 1880s remarked, "We may well be thankful to the Great Eastern Railway for the pleasure their services give to the weary traveller." I am reminded of Margaret Hale from Elizabeth Gaskell's mid-19th century novel North and South. Seeking to drink in strength, new life, and fresh courage at every breath, as well as to attain some distance from the disturbing industrial milieu of Milton, the fictional name for Manchester, she travelled by train to Cromer, where she sat long hours upon the beach and gazed intently at the waves as they chafed with perpetual motion against the pebbly shore. Before the introduction of this railroad line, Margaret Hale would have either to come by steamship or to endure a bumpy, crowded stagecoach ride from the nearest railroad stop, perhaps 22 miles away. She might have found herself squeezed among 3 or 4 others seated inside the coach, or, heaven forbid, perched on top with 15 fellow passengers, surrounded by plenty of baskets, game, trunks, bags, etc., etc. After stepping out of the taxi, I enter the hotel's splendid, well-lit lobby, displaying an elegant grand staircase and stained glass windows. It is hard to imagine that decades earlier, after the outbreak of the Second World War, this place would have clattered with the boots and echoed with the voices of billeted troops sent to guard the vulnerable Norfolk coast from invasion. This coast, incidentally, was named E-Boat Alley after fast German motor torpedo boats that attacked British merchant ships. Cromer bears the scars of war, for German planes sometimes dumped their unused bombs on their way back from raiding places like Liverpool. These careless acts took lives and destroyed houses. On this peaceful late September night, however, memories of war seem distant, less probable than the fading spectre of garrulous Edwardian holidaymakers who once chatted, laughed, and perhaps even quarreled in the hotel's restaurant. Maybe smoked a cigar while playing billiards in the games room or retired to read the morning newspaper in the library. An employee escorts me to my 4th floor room. In contrast to the residual grandeur of the hotel's entrance, my accommodation is distinctly understated. It resembles a maid's garret rather than, as advertised, an executive single room. Apparently, what makes my room executive is a terry cloth dressing gown hung in a diminutive wardrobe and a newspaper of my choice delivered outside my door the following morning. Nevertheless, my quarters are comfortable, thankfully. An electric kettle and 2 packages of shortbreads crouch in the corner of the dresser. I feel grateful to have arrived, but I have no sense of precisely where I am. I know that the North Sea is just beyond the cliff's edge, and that if I were able to see past the reach of human vision, I could possibly catch sight of Denmark, Norway, or the Netherlands. The pitch darkness of the hour, however, reveals nothing.